Welcome back, guys, to the studio. Today we're going to be continuing to look at those funky things called callbacks. Let's get to it. Okay, this is where you should be so far. We have our init.lua that has a callback. Remember, those callbacks are listed in the Lua API. And you can tell that it's a callback because it's preceded with some sort of verb, or I don't know what you'd call on, but it's some sort of like action descriptor. Okay, so callbacks. You should have stuck a callback into your node like such. And in this case, you may have to just follow my example and grab onConstruct and put it into your node definition. So this is where we should be. Now, a couple notes on callbacks. First of all, they are a part of the node definition. Secondly, they are a function, right? So here we have onConstruct equals function. That should be familiar from Lua and when we were writing and defining functions. And then inside of this function, we can put whatever we want. And we could put like a equals 1. Fantastic. Of course, now I haven't gotten into local and globals specifically for Minetest yet, but it becomes a much bigger deal when you're dealing with variables in writing code for Minetest. You need to define them as local. However, I digress. So here we are inside of the function hamburger, and we're gonna give it some meat. So, and I had mentioned to you something called Minetest methods. So methods are what you could consider functions that have been written to manipulate Minetest, and they're written in Lua. So for instance, this one I want you to use regularly. Before I get into anything fancy, anything useful, let's just say, I want to test. And so how can I test? How can I just throw in something simple and see if it's working or not? Well, this is the way you would do that. First of all, write Minetest and then type out chat underscore send all. And you can see in the drop down that we have it highlighted already. If we press enter, then it kind of it gives us this dummy filler text, and I'm just gonna hit quotation marks on that, and it will put quotation marks around text. Don't forget, you have to have quotation marks around anything you put in chat send all. There are ways to send variables using the ... concatenator, but for now we're just gonna keep it simple. We just want it to print text. So that is good as is. It should be, but let's check it out and see what happens. So be sure to press Control S for save. Head over to Minetest and make sure your mod's selected. Mine is play game, and we should see the results here in a second. So here's my block. If I place it, what do you know? In the chat, if you can see that upper left, it says text, and it'll do that every time that it is constructed. Okay, so that's good. Now, let's actually do something a little bit more interesting. Don't forget, though, this is a very valuable tool. For instance, if you were to fill out a bunch of code and it's not working correctly and you're not sure where it's getting hung up or what it's skipping, you can throw this throughout your code and see in the chat chat message what you can see where you are basically in your code. And you can even print information. So, valuable tool. Now, let's head on over to the textbook. And I want to draw your attention to chapter 7. We're jumping ahead a little bit because there's some useful methods in here that we can kind of play around with. And this is map operations, basic map operations, how you can change the actual world around you. And you can do that with code. So the first thing we see is that we can read the world around us. That's very important, and we'll use that at a later time. But for now, we want to right. We just want to find a method that we can use to change the world. And we see here that they introduce something called set node. And this is a Minetest method, right? And this would be the use of set node. Now, what we're going to do is we are just going to copy this as is and add it to our code. It's important to not change too much as you're editing and adjusting your code. If you change too much, then it can result in problems which are harder to track down. So we're just copying it straight from the book, putting it into our code, and now we're going to save and run. Now, I guess I should explain a quick rundown of set node. So set node here is a function, right? You can tell because it has parentheses. The parentheses start there and end here. And, whoops, there we go. So the parentheses start here and end here. So everything inside of there is being passed into the function. And we can see that there's two things because we have 1 comma, 2 slots. And the first one, it looks like what appears to be a position. And it is. And then the second one appears to be a node, some sort of node. So, and it is. And what this does is that at a specified location, it will set that location to a defined node. So that's how that works. So we're going to make sure that our init.lu is saved. Head over to Minetest, exit to menu, and then fire it back up again. Okay, so we're replacing that. It says test like we have had, like we defined it to say in chat. And then we look around and we're like, what happened? I can't tell that anything happened. We do it again. Well, what's going on? Well, if you look at your code, we have defined this position as like a static position. It's only in one place, and so we just need to go to that location and look at it, and we can do that easily by typing in /teleport 134 spaces between those numbers. Spaces. I think you can do commas, but I'm not sure. And there is our message block. It just so if I break this and I go up here and I place this down here, it's back again, right? So that is actually map world editing. Now, we're just going to end class there. What I want you to do is just maybe change up some of these numbers to make it slightly interesting, something of your own. But, and then also see what else you can do. See what other blocks you can place. But in future classes, we're going to do more interesting things, and we're going to use actually this information right here, which is position. It's being passed into the function, and so we can use that in conjunction with maybe these coordinates so that the message block gets placed close to, and it kind of follows wherever we place. So anyways, I'll get into that next class. So that is basically a quick rundown how we can use some Minetest methods and make something slightly more interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time.